So welcome back to the next video in the developer series. We are going to understand what are the basic operators and how do we use them in our code. I'm going to talk about the basic operators, which is the addition, subtraction, multiply, divide, and is equal to. Multiply is shown as an asterisk sign or a star sign if you read it that way. This symbol is available on an English keyboard when you press Shift and 8 together. That's how you would reach this symbol on your code. All of these symbols are basically used to do a calculation on two variables and get the output of those two variables into one of those variables or in another variable. Let's see how do we write this code in Salesforce Apex and see the output of these variables there. It is very important to understand these basic operators because you are going to use them in all of your codes going forward. I have the previous class which we wrote last week showing up here. Basically, we what did we understand here is that creating a variable of a data type, assigning values to that data type, and getting the output. So, and how do we get the output in Salesforce? So let's create another class. Let's call it training session, and then we'll write public static void method one. For now, just understand that we have to write it this way. It's just a way of writing things in Apex. I'll explain you what all of these mean in the following videos. But right now, it would be too much of download to explain all of that together, and you might get confused. So just remember that in order to create a class, we write it as public class and the class name. And when we write a method inside that class, we call it public static void and then the name of the method. We'll understand meaning of each of these in the upcoming videos. So let's create a variable called integer a, and let's create another variable called integer b. I'm not assigning any values to these variables. I'm just creating the two variables in line 4 and 5. Now I'm going to assign a value to a. I'll call it the value as 10. And same way I'll assign another value to b and give it 2. Now we'll do addition. So how do we do addition? So we'll take another variable called integer c and we'll put a plus b as the value there. That's the way you would write it in Salesforce. So because we need to add a and b, and we are storing the value of a and b into c. So that's exactly what we are trying to do here. A plus b, the value that would go in C should be 12, which is the result of A plus B. Plus is the symbol of doing the sum, which is addition, and equal to assigns that value into C. So that's basically assigning the value of A plus B into C. Similarly, let's do subtraction. Integer D equal to A minus B. So again, we are subtracting B from A and putting the value in D. Let's do another thing and see what the output is. So let's do B minus A. So here, A minus B, the result should be 10 minus 8. I'll just put this inside a comment so it's not readable. So this thing is known as commenting. And as you can see, I've put in double forward slash together. And so the color of this particular line has changed. And basically compiler will not read this line altogether. So comments are used in order to, make your code more readable to another developer who may want to read this code at a future date and fix this code or, add some more logic to the code. So it's always a good practice to add comments to your code as to explain what this code is trying to do. So, but compiler does not read these comments. These are just to make your code more readable for another developer. So that's why exactly I've put in two codes here is to explain what we are trying to do in the next line. But it is not mandatory to write these comments. This is just a good practice or a best practice. So if you don't write this comment at all, it won't make any difference to your logic. It's just to make it more reader friendly, if I can put it in that way. So that's 10 minus 2, which would give us a result of 8. So that exactly should be the value in the variable d. Now, what will happen in this line? So d is 2 and our variable a is 10. So this would give us the value as minus 8. But now, because this is an integer, let's see what output comes through. So let's say the next one we'll do multiply. So integer f is equal to a star b. So this would multiply. In multiplication and in addition, it won't make much of difference whether you put b first or a first. But in subtraction and in division, it would make difference where you would put a and b as the variables. So be mindful of that, right? Let's do divide and then we'll go through the output. So for divide, I'm taking the variable data type as double. The reason for that is that our result could be negative as well. Our result would contain some decimal places. So hence, I'm taking the output as double. Double G is equal to A divided by B. And let's do another one where we'll do double H is equal to B divided by A. Now, in this case, what we are doing is 10 by 2. So what should be our output here? Our output should be 5. But here, what we are doing is 2 by 10. So then the output should be 0.2. Right, let's see the output of all of these. And we have used all of our 5 basic operators. So addition, subtraction, multiply, divide, and assign the value or equal to, which we have used in all of these actions. So how do we see the results? We do system dot debug. And here we'll say the first thing that we are going to do in output is let's put in this addition and we'll say the output is C. I'm just copying it and pasting here. And then let's paste it for a couple of more times so that we can put the output of all of them. So subtraction, just make S capital, and subtraction is result is D, and another subtraction result is E. Now, in order to explain which result is what, let's put what are we subtracting. So A minus B is equal to this, and B minus A is equal to C. So everything which is inside this single quotes is a string, is a text value, and that would come as is. The rest of the values will be equated, calculated. So we would see the variable, we won't see D coming up straight away, but the value of D in our output, right? I'm just putting some spaces to make it more readable. Then we do multiply as our output. So multiply, the variable value is F, and then we do system.debug, and then we do divide. The divide is G, and then we have one more divide, which is H. In order to understand which divide value we are getting, so we'll put again our calculation there just to make it more readable when we read it in the output. That's the only reason I'm putting it here. I'll save my code now. So I'll do Control and S. That would save my code. And then I'll go to execute anonymous window. I'll copy the class name. I'll copy the method name from here. I'll put the parenthesis. I'll put a semicolon here. I'll say open log and I'll click execute. This would give me the output. For now, I'll just say debug only as explained in the previous video. So here we can see the addition result is 12, which is right. So 10 plus 2 is 12. That's the correct calculation. Subtraction A minus B is 8 and B minus A is minus 8. That's exactly what we calculated here as well. And that's what we have got. So this basically shows you the difference in how, how that you're placing your variables gives you an output or in a different numbers. When you're writing a logic, you might be thinking that you need the result as 8, but what you are getting is -8, and hence rest of your code is not working. So it's very important to understand how you are placing your variables together. For multiply, we are getting 20, which is perfectly fine. 10 into 2 is 20. Similarly, divide. So first one we have got 5. And as you can see here, you can see 5 dot 0. And similarly in here, we've got 0.0. So 5.0 is because we are using the double value. So which basically explains the decimal variable value. So hence we have got 5.0. In here, we have got 0.0 and we were expecting zero point 0.2. So why we have got 0.0? This is quite important to understand why we have got 0.0. So let me just zoom it a little to make it more readable again. So it's 0.0 which is coming up here. It's a very important logic, and I intentionally used it in the code so that you understand why we are not getting zero point 0.2 and why we are getting 0.0. I'll slightly change the code here, and I'll make some more additions to the code, and then we'll understand why exactly that happened. So let's put two more values here. So in this case, again, it's 2 by 10. But let's see what the output comes here. So let's do system.debug divide. Here we are doing j by I, and that's there. And here it's k. Yeah, the output is k. Let's run our code again. Let it save first. Let's run our code again. Say this thing, open log and execute. So our previous log is there and our new log is here. And now you see the value is coming as 0.2 and the previous value was 0.0. Why? Why this exactly happened? So it's a very important logic that you need to remember, and it can be, one of the reasons why your code would not work in the first place. What exactly Salesforce compiler does in the background is so that basically these two variables, both are A and B variables, they are of a type integer. So when we divide an integer by an integer, the result by default is of integer type and not of double type. So hence, here, when you divide 2 by 10, it will only take the integer value and not the decimal value. Hence, our output becomes 0. And this 0.2 value is removed from the memory. That's exactly why we are getting 0.0 here. And here, when we do it as a double, then we get 0.2 because memory is now storing the value as the decimal value. In this case, the memory or the processor removed the decimal values and just gave you the value on the left side of the decimal. All the values on the right side of the decimal were removed. Why? Because both the variables here are integer. If one of the variable is decimal or a floating point value or a double value, then your result will still contain the decimal values, otherwise it won't. Hence, you have got these two results. This is a very good learning that we have done in this video, and hopefully you'll remember it for throughout your course and throughout your journey of Salesforce developer learning. So wishing you the best for Salesforce development. Please do try a couple of more such examples when you write your code, and wishing you best in your Salesforce journey. See you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye-bye. If you have any questions, you can join the QA session, which happens every Friday. And please drop in your comments, feedback, and any questions in the comment section, and I'll get back to you.